This is the spotted lanternfly, a first instar nymph coming out of its egg pod, and you gotta admire the guy, his tenacity. He wants to live, or she wants to live, and it did end up living. I saw it come out of its egg pod myself. But this is an invasive species, and a pretty destructive one. And so, working with Cornell University, I was tasked with developing a lab rearing protocol. Here they are in their characteristic. After they hatch, they start white, they turn to this black and white speckled pattern. And I was tasked with lab rearing these guys. And if you've been following my videos, you know that in lab rearing these guys, I acquired a entomopathogenic Bavaria bassiana fungi, and it is extremely virulent, and it plasters lab-reared spotted lanternfly nymphs to glass, which is pretty impressive. Here's a close-up of that, and you can see the spores have just inundated the spotted lanternfly cadaver here. And when you grow this fungi on different media types, it exhibits different behavior. Here you see some fluffy white mycelia, and that is characteristic of when it grows in high nutrient agar, particularly if you put PDA and yeast. But eventually, when it goes to sporulation, it almost always culminates in this powdery, dusty mass of mycelia that you can very easily extract spores from. And that's what it always looks like when it sporulates, at least in my experience. But an interesting development that I found out is when I was trying to re-isolate one of these Bavaria colonies, and these 3 white colonies are Bavaria here, I got an intruder. My mycologists often get contamination when they're doing transfers and re-isolations, and this intruder, that to me looks very much like trichoderma, produced a very interesting effect. If you see around the colonies here of the Bavaria bassiana, you see a halo, a zone of clearance, if you will, and these zones of clearance, the agar displays lighter pigmentation than the rest of the agar. And this happens very often in fungi. We often do in vitro studies, but in the natural world, these fungi compete with one another for nutrients, for access to ecological niches that they want to be in. And so what I suspect is that this Bavaria bassiana is excreting an enzyme called an amylase. And this amylase enzyme breaks down starch into more manageable sugars that the fungi can consume for its metabolism. Bacteria can do this as well. They also make amylases, and those amylases break down the starch. And if you treat the agar plate with iodine solution and that agar media has starch in it, it'll turn anywhere from a vivid blue-black to a dark purple.